Welcome back to Luke's Motor Shop. Today I'm going to be installing an electronic ignition into the Ducati here. So it replaces the older style pickup, this one here, which is very notorious for breaking down. So the way this works is the flywheel here has magnets on it, and when it spins, it passes the pickups here that send the signal to the spark plug to actually fire. So this is the new one. The company's called Elektronik, Sachse. It's a German company, and so this circuit board replaces the pickups, and this unit here that actually has the small magnets in it replaces the flywheel. So and then there's the little computer that actually controls the ignition curves and everything. There's all the hardware that comes with the kit. Comes with a gland here to seal up the engine around the wiring, which is great because these bikes are notorious for leaking oil out of the pickup wiring hole. So I'm gonna get into the instructions here and get this thing installed, and then I think I'll be able to start the bike up, which is pretty exciting. So I'm gonna get into it and get this thing installed. So I've got this timing tool here, and I got the vertical cylinder at top dead center. So now I'm going to take the cover off and get started with the installation. I've also got this tool here. It makes taking this case off a lot easier. So it's just a nut that goes into the case, and then when you turn this, it pulls the whole case off. And then you save banging it up with a plastic hammer or trying to get it off another way. Just makes life a whole lot easier. I'm just feeding the wire through to get the pickup plate for the new electronic ignition installed on the bike. Once I have the rest of it set up, I'll actually be able to finish the timing of it and make sure it's in the right position. But right now I'm just getting it set with a little bit of Loctite on the bolts and getting it ready for the next step. The next step in the process is to remove the 6 Allen bolts that hold the flywheel onto the gear. This is definitely the most difficult process for the whole swap. The Allen bolts are locked in place, and most of the heads on mine were already stripped out. I had an extremely difficult time getting these bolts out of here. I had to heat the hell out of them to get them out, and you'll see the process that I went through to get them out of here. It's a huge problem. No. Fuck. No. All right, so I managed to get 3 of the Allen bolts out. The other 3, the heads were already pretty stripped. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take a Dremel tool and just slot the Allen bolts here so that I can get a screwdriver on there, and then I'll heat it up again and try and get it out with a flathead. If that doesn't work, then I'll, process. Just, I hate it when I get stripped bolts and stuck bolts and everything. It's just so much extra work, but it is what it is. I'll get it out. After I cut the slots into the bolts, I tried an impact driver pretty quick to see if I get them out. It did not work at all. So time for a lot of heat and a lot of prayers. All right, nice. I got these 2 to move. Nice, good, great. Whew, man. Whew. Good. Let's get it. Oh man, it still so fucking tight. Okay. Oh. Excellent. All right, so I finally got this guy off of the separated there. So now I guess I have to pull these pins out of here to mount this guy onto it like that. So hopefully they come out a little bit easier than those bolts did. And then I'll get to mounting this. Oh man, this whole process to get the flywheel off of this unit is the worst. Even these pins took me hours to get out. I stayed in the shop till late at night trying to heat these things up and get them out of there, but eventually I did. It's just like anything else, just keep working at it, keep grinding away. I think if I was gonna do this again, I probably would have just cut these studs off with how much work it took to get them out. But you know, I got them out of there and it turned out pretty good. All right, I finally got that guy out of there. Man, those pins, I don't know how you're supposed to get them in and out. The kit does not say anything about them. But anyhow, using a vise and just a brass hammer so I didn't damage anything. Just slowly tapped it up after heating it. It eventually came out just like those bolts. So I'm gonna pick this up tomorrow because it's late and reassemble everything in the morning. Woo!
The next day.
All right, it is the next day. It's time to do the final assembly on this ignition system. So I have the gear here and the wheel. So the instructions say the marking in the trigger wheel must be located near the groove. So I've got the marking on the trigger wheel and then there's the groove. So now I'm going to install the 3 Allen bolts here. Got my new torque wrench. I just got this for Christmas. Set up. The first time I'm going to be able to use it. Looked up the torque for these bolts, although it doesn't say it in this manual at all. These are high tensile bolts, so they're the 10.9, 8 millimeter, which if you look it up is supposed to be torqued to 40 Newton meters, not foot pounds. And I've got some Loctite here for high temp that I'm going to be putting on the bolts also, just to make sure these stay in place. Last thing I want are these bolts to pop off in the engine somewhere. Okay, so Loctite, torque down, good to go. All right, so everything's torqued. I can tell why the ones on the original one were stripped there, because even that one there, as I was torquing it up, I could feel it slipping. It's just such a high amount of torque for such a small Allen bolt to go through. I wonder why they're using such small heads. But anyhow, it's done. I'm gonna get it back in and keep going on this install. All right, so I ran the pickup wires up to the top here. And I'm gonna, mount everything into the plug, and then I'm gonna sit the little computer right there. So I'm just gonna follow the wiring diagram, hook everything up with the different coils and the different pickup wires, and then get it installed. I forgot to mention before that the reason why all this wiring is already done for the coils for this system is I had a 900 SS engine in this bike that blew up recently, so now I'm going back to the original like the spring head, I guess, but that has a different Sachse ignition system. So anyhow, that's just kind of a loose summary there about why I'm putting this system in, but the coils are already wired for this. Anyhow, I'm gonna get back to it. Okay, so I figured out that this tool is for using a timing light to make sure that the advance on the spark is correct, which is why you can see it's offset from these guys. So to find top dead center of the horizontal cylinder, reading up online, a few people put a dial indicator in the hole here to find it, but that's not as accurate as possible, because as that piston comes to the top, there's such a wide number of degrees that where it remains flat. So the best way for this is going to be when it's pointing towards the spark plug right here, right in the middle of the hole. That's going to be the most reliable way of estimating top dead center. And then I'll be able to actually rotate the base plate properly to get it to do what I was doing before. So I'm going to start again. I'm going to bring this back to approximately the bottom dead center here. I'm just going to pop this guy out for a minute. So I'm just going to bring that back right about there. It is about the bottom. So then, same thing. I'm going to turn the bike on and then bring this around so it's pointing directly towards that cylinder there. And then same thing, I'll rotate this base plate to get it to turn off the LED, and then it'll be set. Let me just revise where this is at here. Okay, so you can see the LED on the bottom of this guy here is lit up. Okay, so now I'm going to rotate this to get that. So that's pointing, and just double check. Yeah, so this here, I'm gonna get this to point directly at the spark plug, and it looks like the LED just turned off, which is good. So I'm gonna try that again. I'm gonna have this in a different starting position. Okay, so that's the top. Okay, and then we're coming around here. Ouch. So now LED turns on right there. Okay, so then this is coming around and boom, turns off. Okay, so we're just gonna try that again. So that's on. Okay, so now just make sure this is coming up. Okay, so the sparks LED on. Okay, so I don't know if it's all that clear here, but you can see this here. So that's pointing right at that spark plug hole right now, like that. So that's perfect. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is rotate this plate here. So I'm just gonna pop this out real careful. Actually, no, I'm gonna leave it in there. So now I'm gonna rotate the base plate here. Okay, boom, that's it. LED went out. That's all we gotta do. We're gonna rotate. So the top one turned on. Now it should turn off right as this gets to another couple degrees. Yeah, okay, so it turned off, so that's good. So it's doing the right thing for the top cylinder. Okay, so now I'm just gonna come around here. Oh, geez, this thing's hard to turn. Okay, so coming around. So now LED turns on, turning. Oh, right there, so perfect, perfect. So both of them are turning on and off at the same time. So now, kill the ignition, disconnect the battery here. Okay, so now the pickup plate is in the correct position. So now all I gotta do is I just gotta tighten these 3 screws here. Now that the pickup plate is installed and adjusted correctly, it's time to get the clutch basket back in and torque the nuts
properly to hold them in place, the flywheel and the clutch, I have this really neat tool that my dad made a long time ago out of a couple old clutch plates to hold the engine in place, and it's just the best for getting these pieces installed correctly.
All right, so I got the clutch basket and the flywheel nuts torqued, a little bit of Loctite, and the washer is bent over top to lock it in place, which is very important. And so now I'm going to reassemble the clutch and get this side cover back on here. All right, so I got the right-hand side of the bike buttoned up. Now, the reason why I wanted to do that was to just check the clutch plate to make sure it's fully disengaging properly. So that's looking really good. Got a little bit of play up here. So now that that's all done, I can close the left side of the bike here and then get some oil in this thing. All right, so today's the day. All I need to do is, get some oil in the bike using some 50 weight. I'm gonna get the oil filter changed, and then I'm gonna pull the spark plugs out, and I'm just gonna use the Kickstarter, and I'm just gonna kick the bike over and over and over again to get the oil flowing through the whole engine. And just because the engine's been sitting for so long, and I don't want to, I want to get that oil up to the heads, so I don't cause any damage to any of the bearings or any of the seals or anything. So I'm gonna get to it, get the oil in the bike, and then get this thing fired up. I'm pretty excited about this, I won't lie. All right, so I've got the oil flowing up to where the oil filter goes here. So now what I'm gonna do is I'll get the oil filter on, I'll get the bike off the table, and just keep kicking it over and over again to get the oil flowing up to the heads and all that. And then what I've got here is, this is just a little gas tank off of a lawnmower. So I'll hang that up, and that way, I can start the bike up without really dealing with my mess of wiring that I still have here. So I'm going to get the filter in, get the plugs in, get the bike off the table, and then I'll be able to start the bike up. Pretty excited. So I'm just gonna kick the bike over a bunch, just to get that oil flowing some more. And then I'm gonna throw the spark plugs back in. It's gonna be good to go. Ready to fire up. All right, man, it's such a good feeling hearing this bike run again. Again, it's been since 2013 that I've had this bike on the road, and you know, just hearing this bike run, it's just incredible. I'm just over the moon excited right now about getting this bike back on the road. It's such a cool bike. So that's gonna be it for this episode. And the next one, I'll be taking care of, you know, wrapping up the final assembly of the bike here. So it'll be wrapping up the wiring, you know, getting the mirrors on, obviously getting the tank and the side panels on, getting the battery in, and you know, prepping this thing to get it on the road. And then once all this white stuff's gone, then I'll be going for a cruise. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.